I'm very honored to open this, this workshop. And the title is An Acoustician's Experience of Using a Hearing Aid. I'm speaking to you from the Acoustics Research Unit at the University of Liverpool School of Architecture. John, could you move on the next slide? So this is a personal account of experiences of wearing a single hearing aid to control tinnitus. It's by a non-expert who, however, I come from a career in engineering acoustics, both as a researcher and a teacher. The next slide. I'm aware I'm talking to experts in speech technology and machine learning for hearing aid development. Coincidentally, as president of IOA recently, I presented an award to Klaus Elberling for his work on audiology and hearing aid design. And this was at the annual meeting of the Danish Technical Audiology Society, the DTAS. I gave the presentation in Denmark, and this society brings together R&D groups from universities and from hearing aid manufacturers and clinicians. And so I spent a really interesting day there, sort of acquainting myself with some of the work. You may know that Denmark has 3 major manufacturers which make approximately 50% of the hearing aids in the world. And the presentations were on electrophysiology and on hearing aid design. And also importantly, there was a lot of presentations by clinicians on patient pre and post usage behavior. And it introduced me to 2 things. One was the use of tinnitus, the use of a hearing aid to ameliorate tinnitus, which I hadn't done till that stage. And the other thing was the level of hearing aid design, which prompted me to purchase a smart hearing aid. But just my history was the tinnitus was the result of the onset of Ménière about 45 years ago. So all of my working life, I've had tinnitus. At the beginning, though, it was very much a tsunami of tinnitus, vertigo, and a downgrading of hearing in the right ear. It was a sharp loss of hearing in the right ear. And at the time, it was the vertigo which was the most challenging thing to have. It's like a serious seasickness. So there's not much you can do about it. So although the Ménière disease was severe at the beginning, and I tried early treatments, including microsurgery. I spent 30 years taking beta histine, tried acupuncture, and various calming strategies, which I note are recommended by the British Tinnitus Association. Next slide. After that quite dramatic onset, it settled down, but the tinnitus remained and has been with me all my life, but all my adult life. But it was less severe, however, but episodes of increase are due to colds and stress, etc. So I'm always a bit depressed if I catch a head cold, because I know what's going to come next, and that would be heightened tinnitus. I'm lucky enough in that the tinnitus is in one ear, the right ear only. It's high frequency. I'm guessing it's about 8 kilohertz, around 8 kilohertz, and it's broadband in character. So I'm more fortunate than some sufferers who have tinnitus as pure tones or modulated tones, which I would think are much worse than my experience. With age, with presbycusis, the tinnitus recently became louder, and it was clear that the hearing I had in the right ear was masking the tinnitus reasonably successfully for the last 40 years. But as the hearing got worse, the tinnitus seemed to get louder. Next slide. So, on the recommendation of the NHS, a hearing aid was fitted about 3 years ago by a very nice team at one of the hospitals in Liverpool, which after some adjustment, when they first put it in, I had to remind them that what I wanted was not the right ear of a 20-year-old, but the right ear which matched the left ear of a 70-year-old plus person. So after some adjustment, it sounded less overwhelming, and it suppressed the tinnitus really quite well. So much so that 2 years ago, I bought a commercial digital hearing aid, which provided personal control both of the volume and frequency content. I can drive it from my iPhone and change the equalization, and it even has settings such as restaurant music and normal speech. I will say at this stage that I don't find those settings really improve the situation, so that if I press the restaurant, it doesn't make things particularly better in a restaurant or in a social situation. What it did do, which was quite disconcerting, was the use of one hearing aid compromised my binaural perception, something that one takes for granted. But it was quite interesting that I suddenly had difficulty in locating external noises, traffic. I had no idea. I suddenly lost the ability to know from which direction cars were coming, and also internal sound sources. People would be calling out my name. Again, I wouldn't know from which direction clearly. So that was quite a stark experience, and it reduced my appreciation of live and recorded classical music. This, again, especially for live music, I'd lost the ability to locate the instrument and or instruments, and this I do think compromises your appreciation of recorded music, and through two loudspeakers and live music from the range of sources across the concert hall stage. more puzzling to me was the reduced speech perception. And I'm sure that I'm talking to experts who would say, well, that's obvious. It's not obvious to me. Sometimes I found that it improved my speech perception if I took the hearing aid away, even though my right ear is significantly down compared to my left ear. And I just think as it might be the result of the phase change introduced by the single hearing aid. Phase change or time delay. I know enough about hearing to know that the binaural perception relies on the brain being able to differentiate the two arrived signals in terms of their relative time delay or their relative phase difference. So this short talk is ending with some questions to myself. Should I go ahead and get a second hearing aid so that to preserve the binaural perception, even though the two hearing aids would have different volume settings? My left ear is stronger than the right. I would imagine that they would introduce the same time delay into each ear and then improve my binaural perception. Then I asked, are hearing aids pairs phase matched, and to what degree? I come from an area of research where we use sensor arrays, and it's important they are very accurately phase matched in order that you can separate out the times of arrival of the signal, and therefore then locate the source of the sound. So I wondered to what degree those commercially available hearing aid pairs are phase matched. And finally, I asked myself that even though I'm wearing one hearing aid, given time, does the brain adapt to restore binaural perception? Does it recalculate due to the fact that that one ear is now changed the time of flight, or the time delay, or the phase of the arrived signal in the right ear? But does it re-educate itself? Again, I leave that question to you experts. And I'll finish on two things. One, next slide, please. One is the final comments. I think it's generally a good thing. My use of the single hearing aid has reduced the effects of tinnitus and has kept me going really quite well. I've resisted getting two hearing aids. I was offered that because I thought, well, my left ear is good enough, and you know, there's enough problems in your life when you're entangling your hearing aids with things like COVID masks when you're walking in and out of shops and public spaces. Surprisingly, I found the use of the simpler, more robust National Health hearing aid, which has no control available to me, I'm using it more than the controllable aid. Although, as I talk to you now, I have my controllable hearing aid in front of me, although I'm not wearing it now, as I've got a pair of earpieces in my ear. So it's a short talk. I hope it's posed some problems, and I thank you for your attention. And I wish all success, and I'm sure it's going to be successful, to the Clarity-2021 workshop. And finally, as president of Internoise 2022, which will take place physically in Glasgow next August, I'm sure we could find several sessions of work which you could contribute to. You're kindly invited to come as a delegate, as an author, and also, or even a session organizer. With that, I'll stop now. Thank you.